Hey everybody, it's Zach. Welcome back to the Heroverse. And guys, I just got done with the Teen Wolf movie, which is crazy to say that we've actually got a Teen Wolf movie. I still can't get over that. For anybody that doesn't know here, I am a big fan of Teen Wolf. I've been a big fan of Teen Wolf. I can't even really I don't really remember when I really started watching Teen Wolf. I think I caught it when it was on Netflix, and then when the newer seasons came out, I think that's when I actually started watching it on TV. I think, if I'm correct, I at the time was watching season 1 and season 2 on Netflix, and I was able to catch season 3 on live television, if I'm correct. All I remember is just loving the show, and just being in love with the characters. And the fact of it is that, that this movie is kind of, surrounded by the storyline of what we got in season 3 with the Oni and the Nugitsune and everything involved with the Nematon and all that. And we kind of got this in this movie, which I really enjoyed myself with this movie. Like, I just got done watching it with my sister Annie, and, she kind of I kind of got her into the show. And, I was really not impressed by the trailers. I was like, I don't know how I feel about this, mainly because I wasn't a fan of the way Tyler Posey's how he went for the shaved buzz cut look for Scott in the movie. I was like, I don't really like it. I was like, I kind of wish his hair was longer, like how it was in the show. But I got past that. I was like, okay, it is what it is. But watching it, I was like, wow, they actually pulled this off, because the title of my thumbnail is it good or bad, this movie. And you always wonder, the last season of Teen Wolf that we got was in 2017, and it's kind of you think to yourself, oh shit, it's been 7 years since we've really been with these characters. How is it? And in the movie, it's 13 years. So it was really crazy to see the headspace that everybody was in this movie, and this will of course be a spoiler review. So going into the movie, it was really crazy to see Liam in Japan. They didn't really give an explanation to that, other than the fact that he's with this girl named Hikari. And, he's pretty much protecting the box that was made from the Nematon to protect, that was keeping in the Nugitsune. So it was pretty much, the box was meant to trap the Nugitsune. So that way, and I remember that was that might have been the craziest season of Teen Wolf. That is my favorite season of Teen Wolf, season 3, because we get introduced to Kira, and we get introduced to the Oni and the Nugitsune, and the Nugitsune taking over Styles and everything like that. And I just thought that was really a fun season, and a really terrifying season, the way Styles just couldn't remember if he was awake or if he was sleeping. He couldn't tell. I thought that season probably had me the most paranoid. And the fact of it is to start off talking about this, I was really upset that Dylan O'Brien didn't, come back as Styles. And it just made me really, really upset, especially the reasoning of the reason that they kind of gave in the movie of why he wasn't there. It just, I don't know, it kind of, they mention him, but it kind of makes me upset, because we get more of an understanding of why some things happen that made me really upset. But it is what it is. I'm just happy that Styles was mentioned, and he wasn't totally forgotten. So it was just nice that they mentioned him in the movie. But back to what I'm saying about Liam being in Japan, they didn't give an explanation to that, which was a really big downside to the movie. I was like, okay, and we didn't really get introduced, I feel to care enough about the other character, Hikari. I really do wish that we kind of had an understanding of why Liam was there. I mean, I feel like we kind of knew by him and everybody that was, in Japan, kind of when the person came in looking for the box that had the Nugitsune in it, we kind of had an understanding that he was there and it was tasked to protect the box and from anybody that would try to release the Nugitsune. So I kind of had that understanding, but I was kind of annoyed that we really it didn't feel like Scott and Liam were as close as they used to be from how we last saw them in season, I think it was 7. So it felt a little bit weird, or season 6, I think it was season 6 or 7, I can't quite remember. But it just felt very weird that there wasn't enough, communication between them to make me feel wow, that's Scott's beta. It just didn't feel right to me, even though, Scott has been out of Beacon Hills for about 13 years. He hasn't been there in forever, essentially. He never thought he would go back there. And it was really crazy to me is that even him and his mom kind of like, like weren't on like that, he didn't like have communication with his mom, which was very weird too, because he like didn't want his mom knowing that he was coming back to Beacon Hills, because essentially the storyline of this is that, we saw in the trailers Allison is back, and pretty much, in the release of, this dude that ends up trying to, release the new Gitsune, and pretty much has it out for, Scott and all of Scott's friends, we kind of wonder who is the one that wants to cause harm upon Scott and his friends, that's wanting to release this, and pretty much, put in everybody's heads the idea of Allison is still alive. And at least that's the way I think, is that like when the new Gitsune was released, from like the jar, I kind of assumed right away that, it was the new Gitsune putting in the ideas in everybody's head of like Scott, and also I forget Argent, I'm like forgetting what his name is, but about that, Allison, and feeling Allison has not passed over and is kind of in limbo and hasn't passed over. And that's like the plot of this movie, is that they want to help Allison, if not, be able to like, move on. And they think to themselves like, oh my God, like, I hear Allison calling out for help. I think she's been stuck in between, for 13 years, that we, or at least when we don't like, if there's any chance that, that's true, we need to help her. And that's the idea of like, oh, we want to help make her be able to, to move on. And because they kind of have an idea that, she's dead, but she hasn't been able to like go to like, hasn't been able to like, go to the afterlife. She's been in limbo. And, that was the idea until, we have everybody coming back together, because again, it's like Scott, and it's I'm just going to say Argent, because I totally forget like what his name is. I don't know why I am, but I am. So, they're the ones that initially get the band back together, get everybody back together, I forget. I think it's, I'm not even I thought like they would go get people, but no, we have Lydia ending up, she's getting the information of like, getting these, visions of like, okay, like I do think that, I'm writing Allison's name. I think there's something wrong with Allison as well. And I do think that this is the new Gitsune doing this, because I think it was all a part of the new Gitsune's plan. So that way, when they would all try to help Allison cross over, it ended up actually bringing Allison back to life through the Nematon. And it was weird because, when they were all talking and, and Lydia actually made sketches, because, that's one of her powers, is that she was able to make sketches because she's a banshee. So like, or not, actually, I don't even know. Like she's, there's a word for it, and I don't think it's a banshee. I think it's something else. I can't even remember. It's been a long time since I've watched Teen Wolf, and I don't even like have a remember of what she is, but she's just able to like make sketches, and she ended up making a sketch of the Nematon. And it was weird because no one really like, weirdly enough, like, what's his face, the Argent. Why am I forgetting the dude's name? I gotta go figure this out real quick. Chris is his name. So I'm just gonna say Argent. Argent's the one that had to tell them that, oh, it's the Nematon, when it's like they already know what the Nematon is. Why are they making it sound like they don't know the name of the Nematon and what the picture was when it was finished? It's the Nematon. So I just felt a little bit weird that they would have forgotten about the Nematon or forgotten the name of the Nematon, and also how I know how the Nematon was like, sometimes it would be hard to find and it wasn't so easy to find. But it was very interesting because that's how we get Malia involved, and Malia helps Scott, and helps it helps Scott and help Lydia pretty much go do this ritual to help Allison move on, and they actually end up using, Argent brings one of the swords that the Oni used that killed Allison, pretty much a part of the ritual, along with a part of the ritual is also you need to go where she died. So they end up getting the dirt, going to the Nematon, and then already like the dirt ends up getting sucked in, and then the sword ends up being planted in the middle. And then that's when Allison ends up coming back. And they think, okay, like, we just helped her move on. But actually, no, they actually made her come back to life, essentially. And it all goes where, like, of course, the the new Gitsune is pretty much using Allison as a puppet to pretty much, one, have control of the Oni, but not only that, but, have Allison be kind of like his, kind of be like his weapon, be like, to do his bidding and pretty much to hurt everybody. And it's all at the expense of that somebody released, of course, the new Gitsune for revenge, and we don't really know who it is, and that was really like, so like I was wondering to myself, like, who would want to cause harm to Scott and them, who would want to do this kind of thing and release this kind of evil on the world. And we kind of just wonder about that the entire time, and it was really awkward to see Malia and Scott, their interaction when they first meet up in the woods to go find the Nemeton. That was really weird. I totally forget how their relationship really ended. I forget. Again, it's been a minute, since I've watched like Teen Wolf season like 6 or 7. I can't quite remember. I think it was season 6. Or it might have been 7. But honestly, it's been a minute since I've watched it, and that was kind of funny in that moment. But really, the funny thing is that we also have Peter ending up coming back too. Pretty much everybody comes back except Styles. Like, he's the only one that really doesn't come back, but everybody else pretty much does. Seeing Peter back was really annoying. I was like, oh my god. And Peter actually ends up showing up when Derek ends up being hurt by Allison, because Allison ends up going on a spree pretty much looking for Derek. So it's like, that's weird that was the first thing that she had in mind. It was like, I'm looking for the Alpha, I'm looking for Derek. When it's like, I was wondering to myself, like, why was that the first thing that she thought of? It was just instantly hunting to werewolves. It wasn't like anything else. It was just hunting werewolves and hunting Derek. And of course, she didn't have the idea and the notion of who anybody was, but she knew that she wanted to hunt down Derek and hunt down the Alpha. So that was very interesting, of just the plot line of that she didn't remember anything when she came back. And it made it very interesting to, like, for Scott, especially because Scott's biggest, regret is that, about what happened with Allison and stuff like that. That's the thing that's really haunts him and really upsets him, because that was his one true love. And, there's a moment earlier in the movie where, like, he ends up saving, 2 little girls and their dog. And pretty much, he thinks to himself, like, it's not too late for me to, like, have kids. It's like, it's not too late. Or that's what Deacon says. Like, he's like, it's not too late, he's like, yeah, I know, to have kids, yeah, I know, I'm just waiting for that's one special someone to either find me or I find them. And he's like, no, I was saying it's not too late to, like, I think he said it was not too late to, like, close up or something, or like, or beat the traffic or something like that. But it's, in reality, he wants to have a life, and really the one person that he wanted to start a life with was Allison, and that's kind of like his biggest regret, and why he won't move on, and why he, like, won't, like, and why he's waiting for someone to find him, essentially. So just, I really loved that, like, kind of like, that, like, longing for, like, your lost love, and and your love ends up coming back, but the love of your life doesn't remember you. And that's kind of like the plot of this movie, is that the love of his life doesn't remember him, and he always wanted to have that second chance to, like, he always wanted to, like, that was his one biggest regret, is her dying, and then, like, and to have, like, kind of like a chance and a second chance, and your love of your life not remember you. It's like, he's like, I need to take this chance and make her remember me and make her remember all of us, because she's being used by the new Gitsune. It always really annoyed me too that Kira she never made her appearance back, even in the show when she left. I think she left at the end of season 4 or 5. I can't quite remember. I think it was in season 4, at the end of season 4. Or it could have been 5. I don't really remember. It was after when Peter tried steal. I think it was at the end of season 4, where I think Peter tried stealing Scott's power, his alpha powers, which that's always what Peter is doing, and I actually thought he was going to do that in this movie. I was like, oh my god, is he really going to try to, like, steal, like, Scott's powers, because he's going to take advantage of the fact of Allison hunting down everybody, and Scott's, Scott, of course, isn't going to want to hurt Allison and stuff, so he's going to take that advantage to, like, while he's weak, Scott's weak, he's going to try to, like, steal his powers. But, while, Allison's on the hunt for Derek, we end up finding out that, and I think we kind of knew from the trailers, I think, that Derek actually had a kid, and his name is, I think it's Eli, yeah, if I'm correct, Eli Hale. Dude is not athletic at all. I was like, oh my god, this is Derek's kid. This is funny as shit. Of course, he's a rebel. He likes to piss off his dad, essentially. And we kind of give him more of an insight of, like, that, he is a late bloomer to being a werewolf. And this is kind of like him, like, trying to get in trouble, trying to pretty much be a high school dropout, and pretty much keep stealing Styles' Jeep. He does this to get back at his father, like, because his father knows that he doesn't like Styles' Jeep, and that's why Eli takes the Jeep. And also he like kind of wants to like get back at his father because he already thinks that his father kind of thinks of him as a disappointment because he cannot turn into a werewolf. So I kind of got that grasp of like when I found out he was like he couldn't transform and he was like a late bloomer, that like he feels like he's a disappointment to his father. Literally I was like, oh my god, dude, it's just kind of funny because I was like, I couldn't believe that someone so not athletic from what we saw in the beginning of the movie, I was like, I can't believe that you're his son, bro. Like, I couldn't even believe it. I was kind of like one of those funny things where like, that's Derek's son. When you think about it, it's kind of funny, but it makes sense by him being such a rebel. That kind of reminded me a lot of Derek. And, kudos to the actor that plays Eli because I got a lot of like Derek vibes through that. And pretty much, he actually does, end up having here or there, like, moments of, like, oh my god, like, you actually can't, you do have the wolf power. It's just because we end up finding out in the movie that it's the reason he wants to suppress his wolf powers is because, and why he thinks he can't do it is because he's afraid to do it because apparently, Derek ends up explaining, saying, like, look, I transformed in front of my son when we had coyotes break through and they tried to like hurt him, and I roared so loud that the house shook that when he saw me he was shaking and he wouldn't come near me for a while, and I just never transformed since. And I think that's why he's afraid to do it, because he's afraid that he'll be looking in the mirror and he'll see me and he'll see a monster, and it's like that's actually was a good reason on why he won't transform. And I thought that was really good story-wise and storytelling-wise to be like, okay, that's why he why he doesn't want to transform. And it's very interesting because like he even said like, when he's like, like, and because Eli's like, what if I don't, what if I don't have my, what if I can't transform into a wolf? What if I can't, do it? And he's like, that actually would be like, that would actually be good if you couldn't do it or whatever. He said something like that. He's like, oh, good for you or good for me, or good for me or good for you, meaning like you wouldn't have to deal with me as a wolf or something like that. So it was just very interesting just to see the dynamic of like Derek as a parent, because let's be real, we never thought Derek would ever be a parent. Like, we never thought that. It's Derek, you know what I mean? But the real thing is that I thought he died when he got shot in the neck when that clip got released of him in the locker room with and Allison coming in. And pretty much, he's in the locker room with his son, getting him ready for his game, and they're talking about him, because I guess he was in the game, but then I guess he got hurt, like he twisted his ankle, and he's like, and then Derek's like, if you can heal or whatever, you can go back in the game, or you can go in the next game and help your friends win the championship and stuff like that. And he's like, I can't heal and stuff, and of course that's when Allison comes in and ends up shooting him in the neck, or ends up skimming his neck, and pretty much he's like going down the hallway. He's pretty much, just crawling down the hallway, and we think he's going to die. But, it's just, I really thought Derek was going to die at that sequence. And I thought, if not, like, he was dying when Scott and Malia ended up showing up. And also, I think it was Scott and Malia, and it was also, what is it? It was Liam. And again, it didn't feel right, the scenes with Liam and Scott, because it just didn't feel like that they were as close anymore. You know what I mean? Or that they were even, like, in a way, even friends. You know what I mean? It felt very weird, the way that Liam just didn't get much talking. We really didn't know much about what Liam's been up to, and that kind of annoyed me. I think that was the biggest downside of this movie, was that we didn't really know much about Liam and what Liam's been through, and really, like, who was Hikari to Liam. I'm assuming his girlfriend, but, like, how did he meet her? Like, there was questions I'm like, you guys really kind of should have, like, explained why he was in Japan, really what he's doing. I was like, okay, this is kind of like the biggest downside. Really, they didn't explain why Scott was where he was either. I was like, what are we really doing here? I was like, we aren't really explaining really why people are where they're at. But we kind of get a notion of why we're all going back to Beacon Hills. And I guess that's the most important part, is why we're going back. It's because of Allison. And that's the one thing that everybody will like come back to Beacon Hills for, is the person that they love and the person that they regret losing. So it was brilliant on that. But other than that, about this, it was really funny because there's one moment where like where like, well, I think like Derek ends up being like they end up getting transported, pretty much everybody, by the Oni when they get hit with like the swords. They don't end up dying, they get transferred somewhere, and pretty much, Derek gets hit. I think it was Argent. Yeah, I can't remember. No, Argent doesn't get. It was Derek. It was it was Derek, and it was I don't know. It was Derek. Who else was it? It was Sheriff Stalinsky. Who else? Who else was it? It was Mason, and I can't remember who else got transferred to. It was who was it? And the doctor. I can't remember the doctor's name. I said it a while ago. I think it's it's on the tip of my tongue, and it's going to annoy me that I can't remember his name. But also, he got transferred to the place as well, and pretty much the moment where like Eli's like, "Oh, I got this," like says to Malia is like, I got this," ends up getting stabbed right away, and ends up being gets sent to the place that everybody is, and they get like sent to a place that's underneath the lacrosse field. I thought that was like, and like they could hear also, yeah, it was also Hikari, and it was also Liam that ended up getting sent there too. And it's funny because that they, Liam makes a comment saying, I can hear the lacrosse players above, and they actually are underneath the lacrosse field. And I thought that was funny. I was like, that's some that's some like thin ass field. If you can hear like the lacrosse sticks banging up top, I was like, that's some thin ass field if you can hear that, dude. I was like, damn. But I was like, it makes sense because he's a wolf. I never thought about that for a minute. I just thought to myself, like, how can you hear that, dude? But I was like, okay, he's a wolf. I just like, it just popped in my head just now. Oh, he's a wolf. That's how he could do it. But other than that, though, I just thought that was kind of goofy. And the fun thing is that we saw the coach back. That was funny. Having the coach back was the best thing ever. To see coach back, especially him when Scott ends up going in the game, which I thought was funny as hell that Scott ended up actually going in the game with Eli. And I guess it was like a part of their plan initially, I guess, to win the game, so that way everybody would get out of there and no one would be getting hurt. It was funny because that's a grown-ass man going on the field, but it was very funny and very nostalgic to see Scott, back on the field. I love when the one rival coach is like, who is that? That looks like a 30-year-old man. Like where did that player come from? And he's like, who is that? Seriously? And he's like, oh, that's Greenberg. I was like, oh god, Greenberg, man. Oh my god, I'm still pissed. Like we never knew who Greenberg was. We just never knew. I really thought we were gonna get that explanation of who really Greenberg was. I still want that, and, I don't know if we're ever going to get it, but it'd be super funny. I died when we said, that's Greenberg. But other than that, we end up having, like, a big fight down below where it's Scott, of course, it's Allison, and, of course, it's, Sheriff Stalinsky, Mason, Argent, Melissa, and it's also Peter. And I think, and we end up having, Malia and, why am I forgetting, and Parrish, pretty much all going down in that kind of like, I guess limbo area, and they're all like fighting pretty much to take out the new Gitsune, and the new Gitsune actually turned, when Scott bit the new Gitsune back in season 3, he actually ended up, giving like the new Gitsune like wolf powers on top of like the new Gitsune powers, and pretty much it was like OP as shit. So that was very interesting to see. Like it was Scott and it was Eli and it was Derek all fighting the wolf new Gitsune, and that was very interesting. And of course, Parrish needed to burn it up, light it up with its hellfire to pretty much to defeat it. And, and the thing is that to hold it down so, that Parrish could do that, someone needed to sacrifice himself, and Derek actually ended up doing that, which that was a surprise to me to see Derek actually, do that. But in reality, it's no, it really wasn't, because Derek's always been the dude, that gets back up and is so hard to be taken down, and he had something to fight for which was his son and his son's survival. And, the moment where like he told Scott, he's like, you need to look after him. He's a part of your pack now. Makes me wonder, like, okay, like, like, damn, I was like, is Scott going to stick around now? And I'll talk about that a little bit earlier about like, oh, he's a part of your pack now and what that can mean going forward. I was like, okay. But, they beat the New Gitsune. They beat it. And pretty much, everybody's out now having their, like, happy ending. And Jackson being back, too. Jackson was the one that helped them build the puzzle, like, of the Nematon. Like, he was the one that did that. Jackson came back, which was really cool to see Colton Haynes back. I love Colton Haynes, especially when back in his Arsenal days on Arrow. Dude's a beast. But other than that, though, it was the ending where, like, Scott and Allison, really kind of like have their happy ending. And, we end up pretty much, we end the episode with, or end the movie, not episode. That's what I'm talking about. Like, I think it's, when I watched Teen Wolf, I was like, oh god, it's an episode. No, it's a movie. And mind you, I think this movie was like 2 hours long or 3 hours long. I can't even remember. We started it around, I think at 5, and we didn't get done, I think, until like, I think it was like 7 o'clock, I think, if I'm correct. So yeah, there was like a 2-hour movie, I think, or 3-hour movie. I think it was like 2 hours. But the way we end is pretty much, we see the big rock that's over at Beacon Hills. We have Eli go up on it and pretty much turn to the screen with his yellow eyes. And I keep thinking to myself, are we going to do a show now on Eli being the Teen Wolf? Are we going to be doing that? And I was like, that's an idea, and it could be on Paramount Plus. That's an idea. I don't know if anybody would want that, but it's an idea. I thought to myself, oh my god, is this their way of saying, like, there's going to be a Teen Wolf series, like a new series, but about Eli and his life in school? Like, are they going to be doing that? But then again, I don't even know what grade Eli's in. I don't even know. I wouldn't say a senior. I would say they probably mentioned it earlier in the episode. I just wasn't paying attention. He could have been like a freshman or a sophomore. I don't know, but it's an idea. Who knows? And Scott now being like and Eli being a part of Scott's pack now, and Scott being with Allison. And I'm assuming he would stay in Beacon Hills now. I don't know if that's where he's going to stay. Either or, I think, especially if he's kind of like now a father figure for Eli. Is he going to stay in Beacon Hills with Allison and kind of like? I would actually like to see that if they would make like cameos in a new series about Eli being now the Teen Wolf. That's an idea. I don't know if that's what they were kind of winking at, but I would be up for it, honestly, if they want to do that. I don't know if they're going to, but it would be really cool. And I'm just kind of I'm pretty impressed for something that, again, for a show that we haven't watched in now 7 years, I think. It's crazy to me that they were able to pull this off. I was like, damn, like we haven't seen these characters in 7 years since like 2017, like 2017 was the last season. So it's crazy to me. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. Yeah, 7 years. So it's crazy to me, honestly, that they were able to really like pull this off. I'm super glad that they were. Again, there was a little bit like questionable things with, again, them not like giving a lot of explanation of why they were where they were and what our characters really have been up to. They kind of failed on that a bit, but I'll let it slide. Everything else was badass though, and just seeing the wolf prosthetics again and the glowing eyes, that made me really happy as a Teen Wolf fan. I loved that so much. Just hearing them roar and seeing them with the prosthetics on, and just, oh god, it was the best. I had like flashbacks to when I never missed an episode, and I was there sitting on my couch. It was so badass. It was a great feeling. But other than that, I mean, there was a lot of F-bombs in here. I honestly, maybe there was about like 5 F-bombs. I think at most. I think there was like 5. There was a lot of F-bombs though. I gotta tell you. And I think that was just them taking advantage of the fact of, oh, we're on Paramount Plus now. We're not on MTV anymore. We're on a streaming service, so we can actually like swear now. I feel like that's what it felt like. But I was like, okay, it is what it is. I mean, they wanted to take advantage of that because they really couldn't do that back on the show. So I was like, okay, cool. You could do it. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, cool. But other than that, I would say it was a win. It's a win. It was good. I just answered my thumbnail. It was good. It was a good movie. And I'm hoping that maybe that kind of wink, if that was an actual wink at the screen about them making a show about Eli Hale being now the new Teen Wolf and seeing his journey. I kind of hope so. I hope that's what they kind of meant by that. I could be wrong, or maybe they dropped news about it and I just haven't heard it yet. If you guys know about that, definitely let me know. Do you guys think that was a kind of a wink and a nod towards us, and like a kind of a wink towards us, saying that they're going to be doing a new Teen Wolf series about Eli? Do you guys think that's what they were trying to say? Definitely let me know down in the comments below. Let me know if you guys liked the movie, if you guys didn't like the movie. Do you guys wish they would have done something different, or did something a little bit did something more to the story? Would you guys want to see a series about Eli Hale and him being the new Teen Wolf with cameos from our old characters? Would you guys want to see that? Let me know. And overall, yet again, here, if you're new to the channel, subscribe to the channel, put in the notifications, like this video. I'd love to have you guys here, a part of the family, a part of the channel. We're all about spreading love, positivity, and motivation. And yet again, guys, we're almost to 700 subscribers. We're making moves, we're making strides. And yeah, I hope everybody has a great day, a safe day, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.